Before the room empties and the goodbye stretches longer than planned, make sure you're still here. Subscribe to Emo Saga for grounded, sensual stories where intimacy grows logically, and every ending makes sense. The event ends the way most professional events do. Not with drama, with exhaustion. The last of the guests drift out in small clusters, voices lowering as coats are pulled on and goodbyes are exchanged. The room that was full an hour ago now feels hollow, chairs slightly misaligned, half-empty glasses abandoned on high tables, the low hum of lights suddenly noticeable. I'm tired in the quiet, bone-deep way that comes from being on for too long. I volunteered to help clean up because it felt easier than small talk, and because leaving right away would have meant thinking too much. "Thanks for staying," he says, stacking folders neatly. His name is Adam. We've spoken before, emails, meetings, polite exchanges that never lingered. He's familiar without being personal, comfortable without being close. Until now. "It's no problem," I reply, reaching for the box of unused programs. I didn't have anything urgent to get back to. That's true. What I don't say is that I didn't want to go back to an empty apartment just yet. We work quietly at first. The rhythm is simple: fold, stack, box. The room grows emptier with every task completed, like it's shedding layers of noise. At some point he rolls up his sleeves. I notice without meaning to. Strong forearms, relaxed movements. The way his hands are careful with the materials, precise but unhurried. "You're very organized," I say, mostly to fill the silence. "I've learned it saves time later," he replies. And now, he says with a faint smile, "it gives me something to do so I don't have to rush out." That makes me pause. "You don't like leaving right away either?" I ask. He shrugs lightly. It feels abrupt, like cutting something off mid-sentence. I understand that feeling more than I expect to. The last guest finally leaves. The door clicks shut behind them. The sound echoes in the room, clear, final. We're alone now. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Just naturally. "I'll get the banners," I say, pointing toward the back wall. "I'll take the cables," he replies. We split the room. But I'm aware of him the entire time. The quiet movements, the faint sound of tape peeling. The way his presence anchors the space. This shouldn't feel intimate. It's just cleanup. But something about the shared purpose, the absence of an audience, makes it feel contained. When I return with the banners rolled under my arm, he's crouched near the equipment case, focused. I stop a step too close without realizing it. "Careful," he says lightly. "There's a cord behind you." His hand comes to my elbow to guide me aside. The touch is brief, professional, but my skin reacts anyway. I step back automatically. "Thanks," I say. He nods, already turning away. The moment should end there. Doesn't. As we work, the distance between us narrows without intention. Passing boxes, shearing tape, standing close enough that I can smell his cologne. Clean, subtle, not overwhelming. At one point, our hands brush when we both reach for the same marker. We both pause. Not because it's shocking, because neither of us moves away immediately. "Sorry," I say, a beat late. He glances up. "You're fine." His voice is steady, but his hand lingers just a fraction longer than necessary before he pulls back. I notice. So does he. We finish packing the last box. The room is bare now, quiet in a way that feels intentional rather than empty. "That's everything," I say. "Yes," he agrees. Neither of us moves toward the door. "This was a good event," I add. "It was," he says. "You handled the Q&A really well." "Thank you." "I mean it," he says. "You didn't rush your answers." I smile faintly. "Neither do you." He looks at me, then really looks. "You noticed that?" "Yes." The acknowledgement feels heavier than the compliment. We stand there. Too long for a simple goodbye. Not long enough to justify saying nothing. "I can carry that," he says, nodding at the box near my feet. "I've got it," I reply. We both reach for it anyway. Our hands meet again, this time more firmly. The box tilts slightly between us. "Careful," he murmurs. "I am," I say. But neither of us lets go. The silence stretches. Charged now. Aware. He's close enough that I can feel the warmth of him. Not pressing, not crowding. Just present. "This is the part where we say goodnight," I say quietly. Yes, he replies. But he doesn't move. I could step back. That would be the normal thing. Instead, I adjust my grip on the box, bringing it closer to my body, and in doing so, closer to him. Our fingers brush again, deliberately this time. His thumb presses lightly against the back of my hand, testing. Not taking. Asking. I meet his gaze. This isn't sudden. This has been building in small logical steps. The shared silence. The repeated touches. The fact that neither of us seems in a hurry to end this moment. Is this okay? He asks quietly. The question steadies me. Yes, I answer. And I mean it. He releases the box first. Not retreating, resetting. Walk out together, he asks. I nod. The hallway lights are dimmer now, motion sensors responding to our steps. Our footsteps echo softly against the floor. This doesn't feel like a goodbye, I say without thinking. No, he agrees. It feels like a pause. We stop near the exit. The final threshold. I don't want this to feel strange tomorrow, I say. It won't, he replies. We didn't do anything strange. And yet we noticed each other. He finishes. The simplicity of that makes my chest tighten. He steps closer, not abruptly, just enough that the space between us becomes intentional again. His hand lifts, not to grab, not to pull, but to rest lightly against my arm. The contact is warm, steady, lingering. This, he says softly, is where I usually stop. And tonight? I ask. He looks at me. Tonight, he says. I don't want to rush the ending. My breath catches. So don't, I reply. The touch lingers. The hallway hums quietly around us. And I realize something with surprising clarity. This didn't become complicated out of nowhere. It became intimate because neither of us pretended the moment was smaller than it was. The hallway feels narrower than it did a moment ago. Not physically, but in the way awareness changes space. His hand remains at my arm, not gripping, not possessive. Just steady. Like he's anchoring himself as much as he's anchoring me. This doesn't have to mean anything beyond tonight, I say quietly. I know, he replies. But I don't want to pretend it means nothing either. That distinction matters. It eases something in my chest I didn't realize I'd been bracing. We stand there for another moment, the exit sign glowing softly above the doors, casting everything in muted green light. This is usually where people rush, I say. Yes, he agrees. Or where they say something they don't mean just to break the tension. And you? I prefer to stay present, he says. Even when it's uncomfortable. I look at him more closely then, the calm in his expression, the restraint that doesn't feel like hesitation but intention. You're very deliberate, I say. So are you, he replies. The door opens as someone exits from another hallway, their footsteps passing without a glance. The world intrudes briefly, then moves on. When it's quiet again, his hand shifts slightly. Not away. Closer. His fingers slide from my arm to my wrist, resting where my pulse is still too fast. You're still okay? He asks. Yes, I say without thinking. And this isn't pressure? No. And if it were? You'd stop, I say. He nods. Immediately. That certainty steadies me more than any grand gesture could. We step outside together. The night air is cool, grounding, carrying the faint hum of traffic and distant voices. The building behind us feels sealed now, like something we finished rather than left unfinished. We don't rush toward our cars. Instead, we walk slowly along the sidewalk, the silence between us companionable instead of charged. I didn't expect this tonight, I admit. Neither did I, he says. But I'm not surprised. That makes me smile. Why not? Because it didn't start tonight, he replies. It just became noticeable tonight. We stop beneath the streetlight. Its glow is warm, forgiving. I don't usually blur lines at events, I say. I don't usually stay late to pack boxes, he replies. But here we are. Here we are. The words feel heavier spoken aloud. He turns to face me fully now. No distractions. No exits. I want to be clear, he says. I'm interested in you. Not just the moment. Not just the quiet after. My breath catches, but not uncomfortably. And I don't want that to feel like pressure, he adds. You don't owe me anything because you stayed. I know, I say. Good, he replies softly. Then we're choosing this. I step closer. Not to close the gap entirely, just enough to signal intention. I didn't stay because I felt obligated, I say. I stayed because it felt unfinished. Something shifts in his expression then, relief maybe. Or alignment. Yes, he says. That's exactly it. His hand lifts slow enough that I could stop it. I don't. His fingers brush my jaw lightly, not guiding, just acknowledging the closeness. The touch is intimate without being invasive, deliberate without being demanding. You don't rush, he murmurs. No, I reply. And neither do you. When he kisses me, it's unhurried, warm, intentional. Nothing taken. Nothing assumed. My hands find his jacket naturally, fingers curling into the fabric as if to ground myself in the reality of it. The world narrows not because it disappears but because it finally makes sense. When we part, it's because we need air. Not because the moment has ended. That, I say quietly, felt very considered. He smiles faintly. That might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. We don't kiss again right away. Instead, we lean against the low brick wall nearby, shoulders touching, close enough to feel each other's warmth without needing constant contact. What happens now? I ask. He doesn't answer immediately. Now, he says carefully, we don't force this into a shape it isn't ready for. And what shape is that? One that continues, he replies. If you want it to. I do. I know I do, not because of the kiss but because of everything that led up to it. Yes, I say. He exhales slowly like he'd been holding something in. Then let's do this properly, he says. Not just late-night moments. Not just accidental closeness. I smile. You mean intention? Yes. We exchange numbers without ceremony. No dramatic pause. No ningering uncertainty. Just an easy mutual decision. I'll text you tomorrow, he says. Coffee? I suggest. He nods. Daylight feels appropriate. It does, I agree. That night, lying in bed, I replay the evening. Not the kiss, but the quiet moments that led to it. The shared work. The repeated touches. The fact that neither of us tried to make it more than it was or less. It didn't become complicated because it was simple. It became meaningful because it was honest. Coffee the next day feels easy. No cuernis. No pretending. Just two people sitting across from each other. Discovering that what felt contained in a quiet hallway still holds up in daylight. You look rested, he says. I slept well, I reply. That doesn't always happen after events. Maybe because nothing felt unfinished, he suggests. I smile. Maybe. Weeks pass. The connection doesn't fade. It doesn't accelerate unnaturally either. We see each other in ordinary moments, errands, quiet dinners, walks that don't need destinations. And every so often, when we're in public and someone suggests a group photo, I feel his presence shift beside me. Close. Aware. Still. One evening much later, as a camera lifts again somewhere across a room, he leans in and murmurs near my ear. You know, you don't have to lean into me this time. I glance at him. I know, I reply. Then I do it anyway. Because this time the touch doesn't linger by accident. It lingers because we've already decided what it means. Some moments are supposed to pass. Others are supposed to stay. Ours didn't become complicated out of nowhere. It became intimate because we paid attention. To the silence. To the pauses. To the moment where a goodbye could have ended. And instead we let it continue.